So you may also be wondering why Attorney Darlene Berberabe is here. The chairman invited her because in the course of our hearings, I think it was Senator Cayetano who mentioned that the hiring of Omni Security Investigation Incorporated has continued with the Pag-ibig Fund, which is now under the jurisdiction or supervision of Vice President Binay, who was the former mayor of Makati City. So can you clarify that particular issue muna, ma'am, about the relationship of Pag-ibig and Omni?
Mr. Chair, I prepared an opening statement with regard to the invitation. May I be...
Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Good morning, honorable members of the Blue Ribbon Subcommittee. The invitation to my office says that I am invited to shed light on the reported procurement by Pag-ibig Fund of the security services of Omni Security Investigation Incorporated. The invitation is anchored on the resolution that was filed to investigate the alleged overpricing of 2 Makati buildings and related anomalies purportedly committed by former and current Makati officials. If the issue is whether the Honorable Vice President Jejomar Binay, who is the chairman of Pag-ibig Fund Board of Trustees, used his power to get Omni into Pag-ibig, I categorically say that no, this did not happen. Omni had in fact a chance to get a 193 million peso security service contract for 236 security guards for our NCR offices, warehouses, and acquired assets from Pag-ibig Fund for 3 years when we bidded out this contract in 2012. However, we disqualified Omni for being late in submitting their bid documents, late for 1 minute. This clearly shows that we follow the procurement law strictly and there is no hanky-panky in our bidding process. The only contract we have with Omni is for my close-in security, which involves only 3 bodyguards, which is for 4 months per contract and worth around 420,000 per contract. When I assumed the position of President and CEO of Pag-ibig Fund in November 2010, the 6.6 billion fraud committed by Globe Asiatic of Delphine Lee against Pag-ibig Fund was headline news. The Senate's investigation into the scandal was in full swing, and one of my first public appearances as the CEO was to attend the Senate investigation. Not surprisingly, concerns were raised within the fund about my personal safety. Before I became the CEO of Pag-ibig Fund, I knew nothing about close-in security arrangement for myself since I never was in need of one. The closest I had ever been to government service was to teach at the College of Social Science and Philosophy and the College of Law of the University of the Philippines. Security detail was foreign to me. I turned to Vice President Binay for advice, he being the chairman of Pag-ibig Fund and having been in public service for a long time. Also because close-in security requires trust and confidence, because it means 24/7 protection for me as CEO. I asked for recommendation from someone whom I knew would ensure my safety. The Vice President recommended Omni, which I understand has provided security service to the city of Makati when he was the mayor. That was the only participation of Vice President Binay. I then asked my Vice President for Administrative Services to engage my close-in security. Because of the smallness of the amount, the contract was entered into by a department manager who had the signing authority. Considering the urgency of the required protection as well as the primacy of trust and confidence in such an engagement, public bidding was considered inappropriate. Hence, the 3 bodyguards were engaged through emergency procurement, an alternative mode of procurement recognized under Republic Act 9184, where there is imminent danger to life or when time is of the essence and immediate action is necessary under Section 53B. It is important to emphasize that the contract amount for the 3 bodyguards is small at around 420,000 per contract versus the 193 million for the security service of our offices, which is locked for 3 years. This should negate any suggestion that Vice President Binay is trying to clinch multi-million contracts for Omni or that Vice President Binay uses his position to get contracts for Omni in Pag-ibig Fund. A premise of the suggestion that Vice President Binay tries to influence Pag-ibig to enter into anomalous transactions is that Pag-ibig and its officers and employees who sign the documents to capture the transactions are corruptible and can be forced to sign something that is illegal, immoral, or simply wrong. In the strongest terms, Your Honors, I say that this is most unfair because Pag-ibig has been known, especially in the last 4 years, for its excellent performance and integrity. We have been very vocal in our collective stand against corruption, and each employee signed an integrity pledge and issued a press release on it because we are prepared to make public our commitment to honesty as public servants. I too have always been committed to doing the right thing. Hindi po ako mapipilit nino man na gumawa ng mali habang ako ay nasa serbisyo publiko, sapagkat ako naman ay maaaring bumalik sa pribadong sektor, at sapagkat hindi ko ipapahiya ang University of the Philippines na nagpaaral sa akin at hindi ko ipapahiya ang nag-appoint sa akin na si President Noynoy Aquino. Masasabi ko rin po na sa 4 na taon na naglingkod ako sa Pag-ibig, walang utos si Vice President Binay na pinilit masubukan ang aking paninindigan na gumawa ng tama. I maintain that Pag-ibig Fund works with integrity and endeavors always to perform excellently. I hope that all of us who are government officials here would be one in preserving the good name of a GOCC that works hard, that performs for its 14.7 million members, that lives up to the true meaning of public service, which is a public trust. As President and CEO of Pag-ibig Fund, I owe it to the organization and to all our members to defend its name. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Attorney Berberabe. Senator Cayetano.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Attorney. First of all, I'd like to apologize because when we brought up this issue, hindi pa nangyayari yung tragedy sa iyong ex-husband kay Mr. Samboy Lim na idol at hinahangaan namin lahat. I know that it's a hard time for your family right now, so I wouldn't have wished that you be here now. No? So I'll make this brief, Attorney, and pagpasensyahan mo na I have to ask a couple of these questions. But let me put on the record, Mr. Chair, that yung sinabi niya about integrity, hindi siya na pagsasabihan, na utusan. Sa akin, even in my interview, sinabi ko yon kasi yun ang reputation na umabot sa akin. No? Having said that, let me, Attorney Darlene, na yung issue na lumabas dito is that si Vice President Binay ang nagbuo at may-ari ng Omni. So in that sense, I thank you for saying and being honest na nung nagtanong ka sa kanya, siya nagsabing Omni ang kunin. Having said that, that doesn't prove that sa kanya yon dahil kung maganda naman ang serbisyo sa Makati ng Omni. But having said that, nag-present ng evidence sila Vice Mayor Mercado. In fact, the former president, yung nandito po siya, no? Of Omni is here, no? So let me just clarify those issues, Attorney. Ang nasabi ko sa interview ay yung tropa ni Vice President ay may mga nagpre-pressure, nagpapakulo, etc. But hindi mo pinayagan. But that's a separate issue. So just to stick dito kay Omni. But let's first clarify. I will agree with you na hindi ka nautusan na maggumawa ng mali. But you are in fact na appointee of the President but recommended by the Vice President. Correct, di ba?
Tama po yun.
And kahit papano, syempre, may loyalty ka rin sa Vice President. You will not lie for him, but you will also not put him unnecessarily in hot water, di ba?
Tama po yun, pero since day one po, kasi nung in-appoint po ako nung nirecommend ako ni Vice President Binay, in fact, initially I declined po because I was supposed to be sent to Singapore as an expat in a multinational. So hindi ko po na planong pumasok sa public service. Pero nag-iisip-isip din po ako noon, but kaya ako ang nire-recommenda ni Vice President Binay sapagkat hindi po niya ako personal nakakilala. At sinabi ko rin po sa kanya nung nag-meet kami, Sir, mahirap daw po akong kausapin sa pamilya namin, so sigurado po ba kayo doon? Inisip ko rin po, paano bang mangyayari sa buhay ko sa public service kung baka paikot-ikutin ako. At nag-commit po ako sa sarili ko na kung matuntun ko na pinaiikot ako or ginagamit po ako, kaya lagi ko po sinasabi even in all addresses in my organization na ako po naman ay handang mag-resign. So kapag sa tingin po ng chairman ko, hindi na ako team player, kung yun po ang hinahanap niya na mapasunod kung ano yung gusto niya, ako po'y laging nagsasabi na you can look for another president. So ang point ko lang po ay ibig sabihin dahil hanggang ngayon po ay ako'y naka-4 na taon na, and that's why I always celebrate also every day na lumilipas. Ibig sabihin wala pa po akong idinulog sa kanya na ito yung position ko, ito yung rekomendasyon ko na sa tingin ko pong tama. So sa lahat po ng instances
Yes.
ay pumapayag.
I totally understand, Attorney, because ganun din naman ako eh. With due respect kay Chairman Pimentel, ako nagpa-appoint kay Attorney Rudy because he had an excellent reputation and people warned me, pag nilagay mo, hindi napapakiusapan yan. Si Rudy, tama, mali. The same thing with Attorney Sara Ariola behind me. She's my classmate, but taga-human rights yan. So hindi pwedeng may kalokohan. I put them in the Blue Ribbon Committee when I was chairman precisely because ayoko nang may kalokohan and hindi sila papayag makalokohan. Nevertheless, may connection sila sa akin. Si Attorney Rudy, I know their family, I'm close. Ate ko, classmate niya si Attorney Rudy. Si Sara, seatmate at classmate ko yan. No? So in the same manner, I just wanted to point out that you are there, of course, because you're competent. The Vice President probably wanted Pag-ibig to do great kasi performance ang kanyang campaign, no? But you also have political and family connections to him, di ba? Dahil yung sister mo is married to the chief of staff ba of the Vice President, di ba?
Tama po yun. He is my brother-in-law.
Yes. So I'm not saying na pagtatakpan mo sila, etc. But i-ano natin sa publiko, di ba? That trusted ka nga rin ng Vice President, nandyan yan. And for me, it's enough today that you said nga na ang Vice President ang nagsabing Omni. Okay?
Opo.
Having said that, let me just put on record that I disagree with you na hindi kailangan ng bidding. Because ang nakalagay po sa procurement law na binasa mo is that yung section B ang binanggit niyo po, no?
Section
53B.
po, D.
Ang nakalagay dito, in case of imminent danger to life or property during a state of calamity, or when a time is of the essence arising from natural or man-made calamities or other causes where immediate action is necessary to prevent damage or loss to life or property or to restore vital public service infrastructure facilities. Meaning, if there was a threat to you in 2010 at kailangan mo kunin kaagad at in-excuse ng COA yan, sabihin mong question mark yon. But after that, may time na kayo magbid eh. Mr. Chair, I put this there not to put you in hot water, but to guide you. Kasi kung yan po ay maririnig ngayon ng lahat ng congressman, mayor, governor, secretary, baka hindi na nila i-bid yung sa security nila. At sabihin dahil may threat sa life nila, lahat po ng mayor, barangay captain, isang araw lang may napatay sa amin na barangay captain, 4 ang tama eh. So if all the barangay captain says, I will not bid out my personal security dahil may threat sa life ko, we're going to be in trouble, attorney. No? So, having said that, can you tell me the names of yung 3 security that were assigned to you?
Isaac Valencia, JOel Solis, JOel Enero.
There were always 3, no? Nung una, 6 sila, no?
Always 3 po. May isa pong quarter or isang period na we thought we would need additional security but for other officers.
Okay. So, having said that, even if, assuming tama yung interpretation mo ng inyong ahensya, no, sa dito po sa imminent danger to life, no, it doesn't excuse the agency from conflict of interest, tama?
Tama po.
Okay. And
Yes,
it's
that's
true
correct.
that Mr. Tomas Lopez is a trustee of Pag-ibig.
Yes.
And it's true that Ms. Irene Lopez is the officer and director of Omni Security.
Okay, hindi ko po alam kung
Yes.
siya ang asawa.
Medyo
And then-
pagalitan nyo yung legal nyo
Opo.
kasi may conflict of interest. Because your director who approves the contract, ang asawa niya naman ay director and part owner ng Omni.
Mr. Senator, may I clarify
Yes,
po?
go ahead.
Yung pong contract kasi na ito na for 4 months, yung initial po 4 months, and then why is it a short-term period? So kung emergency procurement, in fact, pwede po sanang mas mahaba. Pero ginawa po namin na 4 months because we wanted to assess kung meron pa bang need for close-in security.
Yes.
So, and then, yung total po, for
I
example,
understand. Hindi dapat biruin ng security. Ayaw natin na baliwalain yun tapos may mangyari sa isa sa inyo, then magsisi tayo. So, hindi mo kailangan convince. I totally agree that you have to assess the situation dependent. In fact, I'll tell you, dapat parati ka may security.
Opo. Kaya po, well, ang point ko po dun sa 4 months, kaya po, naging emergency procurement kami dahil in real life, ang public bidding would entail 4 months. Yun po ang period lagi ng public bidding. And so that's why, so for 4 months muna kami and then we had to assess. So kung public bidding po siya, that would the consequence would be two
Yes.
things. So another 4
Nung umpisa,
months.
attorney, di ba?
Opo.
Pero yung contract nyo was starting 2011?
2011 po.
2011 hanggang ngayon eh. So naka
Yes.
3 years
Opo.
na eh.
Pero
So
yung-
after the first 4-6 months, anyway, I'm just advising you.
Opo.
Kasi the first time it happens and no one brings it to attention, baka you're excused. Pero when it's brought to your attention na dapat ibid at hindi binid, baka mapahamak ka pa.
Opo.
So I don't want to see anyone na maganda ang trabaho sa gobyerno, yung pa ang nakakasuhan, samantalang yung napakakurap, yung pa ang tumataas ang ranggo.
Opo.
Okay.
Mr. Senator, I would like to
Sure, go
clarify on 2 points po. Subsequently po, in fact, dahil nag-a-assess din yung aking legal department on the emergency procurement, subsequently po, it was shifted to the letter D of Section 53, which is hired consultants, which is based on trust and confidence. Kasi po, Mr. Senator, nung sila ng tatlo,
Let me interrupt you there. No?
Opo.
Pag consultants kasi walang agency fee.
opo,
Pag
opo.
consultant, yung tao diretsyo. Pag-aralan ko yung kasi lahat kami, ganun din sa consultants namin. Ang problema, tinuloy nyo yung kontrata.
Yes.
So for every guard na kumikita lang ng, ang take home nila bandang 17,000 lang.
Yes.
Ang Omni kumikita
30.
ng 8,000
Opo.
na agency fee
Yes.
na 50%. So kawawa naman yung gwardiya.
Yes.
Di ba?
Opo.
Kung consultant, ibigay nyo na lang lahat sa
Yes.
sa tao.
Tama po
Oh,
yun.
ba't tumagal ng 4 years kasi na walang bidding?
Tama po yun, Mr. Senator. In fact, kaya po ang binigay namin doon sa letter submitted to the Senate is like a consultant. Aamin po ako kung ano talaga
Sige.
yung difficulty.
Anyway, pakipag-aralan nyo ulit sa legal and
Opo.
get someone from the outside. Then let me ask you, kailan ang last pag-ibig Board of Trustees na meeting ninyo?
Nung December 22 po,
Nag-attend ba si Mr. Tomas Lopez?
nag-attend po.
O bakit sa inyo nag-attend dito nawawala siya? I mean, I cannot, bakit ang dami ng issues at kailangan niya sumagot dito, pinagbibintangan siya na tapos kailan ang susunod yung meeting? Baka kailangan kami na lang 3 ang pumunta doon para makuha namin testimony niya. I'm not blaming you, ha? I mean, dapat siya mag-attend sa inyo, but I'm pointing out, ma'am, no, na pagdating po sa personal, sa trabaho, si Jerry Limlingan, si Ebeng Baloloy, si Mr. Tomas Lopez, nag-attend sila at nasa gobyerno sila. Pero pagdating sa hearing, na madali naman magsabi, kita mo, ikaw, pumunta ka dito, naliwanagan lahat. Kita namin kung nagsasabi ka ng totoo at hindi at kita namin yung quality ng service mo. No? So, can you inform this committee when you have your next hearing? Para at least alam namin kung saan hahanapin si Mr. Meeting ng Board of Trustees. Kasi nagtataka ako sa inyo nag-a-attend dito hindi.
We should have another meeting like in the last week of January.
Okay.
Tapos yung second point
Go
lang
ahead,
po, Mr.
ma'am.
Senator. So yung pong conflict of interest, siguro po, kaya po siya hindi naging apparent or evident is because of the value of the contract is just 400,000. So the officer that has a signing authority on this is just a department manager. In other words, hindi po ito umakyat sa board. So and then Ako po ngayon ko rin lang tiningnan yung GIS, sino ba yung officers dyan, dahil nga department manager lang yung papasok dito sa contract. So, nung tiningnan ko po na nandun nga yung Irene Lopez na hindi ko po siya kilala ng personal, hindi ko rin po alam pangalan, naririnig ko rin lang po siya galing dun sa Senate investigation. So, kaya po, hindi naging apparent yung relationship because it did not reach the board.
And as lawyers, we know that the law is harsh, but that is the law. Diba? At walang value sa procurement law. So if it's 1 peso, pero there's a conflict of interest, may makakasuhan yan. And as I said, ayoko naman makasuhan ng hindi dapat makasuhan. So it was incumbent upon Mr. Tomas Lopez to bring up the board that you cannot hire Omni because my wife is there. Diba? But for 4 years, tumagal, alam din to ng Vice President. And later on, we will look into it dahil lumalabas dito kay Vice President ang Omni. No, but having said that, Mr. Chair, and the other issues na na-bring up sa pag-ibig, sinabi ko po to sa media, it's a separate hearing and separate issue. Because I heard na meron din si Mr. Tomas Lopez na di ba, pamangkin na nag-avail ng loan sa ng housing sa pag-ibig.
Okay.
Meron o wala?
Meron po.
Sige. So, in a separate hearing, let's look at that. If it's above board or hindi, can you prepare for that? But these are the issues that I mentioned I'd like to look at without making allegations pa. But this is not the hearing for that. And I reiterate, I haven't heard any of wrongdoing on your part. At hindi dahil ikaw ang kaharap. I've said this even in the interview. So, I'm satisfied with that, Mr. Chair.
Before I recognize Senator Trillanes, I have a few questions. You said, ma'am, 400,000 is the value of the contract. That's why it was approved at the lower level.
Yes.
And how long? 400,000 for how many months?
For 4 months po.
For 4 months. But Omni provided you with security for 4 years.
Opo.
So let's say ilump natin lahat yun. If you contracted with Omni originally from the very start for 5.7 million pesos for a 4-year contract.
I think po 5.3.
5.3, I say. 5.7 kasi sa letter mo.
Or 5.7, sorry po.
In your own letter. 5.7 million pesos for 4 years. If that were the contract to be offered, would that have been bid out? And then number 2, would that have reached the board?
Hindi pa rin po. Up to over 3 million or over 5 million sa Senior Vice President po. Senior Vice President. Ang board po namin is over 40 million.
Yun naabot sa inyo?
Opo, aabot sa board.
But pagdating sa Senior Vice President, would you think they would already discover the conflict of interest?
Hindi rin po siguro dahil kahit ako nga po, ngayon ko rin lang na-realize na siya and only because naririnig po dun sa Senate investigation.